If you're tired of playing the same half and whole step bends within the minor pentatonic scale like this, I would encourage you to listen to more David Gilmour. Why? Well, David Gilmour has fantastic bending technique, and in Pink Floyd songs like Comfortably Numb, Another Brick in the Wall, and Shine On, You Crazy Diamond, he plays some really interesting and creative bends that you may not have considered using in your own playing so far. This video is sponsored by Neural DSP, and my tone is courtesy of my Gilmour lead preset, which I created using the Archetype Petrucci plugin. You can try that tone out for yourself by downloading my preset for free, as well as a free trial of the plugin itself. All of that is linked in the description box beneath the video. To start, let's take a look at the opening to the most famous David Gilmour solo, and that is Comfortably Numb. The bend at fret 12 on the B string is the one that I want to focus on here. What exactly is that, and how can we replicate it in other areas of the fretboard? It's a tone and a half bend played from the root of the scale, B, up to the flat third of B, which is the note D. Now, if you don't know, a flat third is equivalent to the distance in pitch of a tone and a half or 3 semitones, which on one string means the distance of 3 frets. So here is the starting note, B, and 1, 2, 3 frets above that is the note D. It's a flat third higher than B, and that is the pitch that David bends to at the start of that solo. The solo in, let's call it, the most famous song by the Eagles features this same bend, but I'm not going to demonstrate that for you now because Don Henley would not allow that. I'm going to show you a lick I've written that uses the tone and a half bend played from the root note, but in this case the root note is going to be played up here on the dusty end of the fretboard, so this will be our starting B root note. Here's what the lick goes like. Tabs, the backing track, and some bonus lick lessons based on this YouTube video are available to members of bulletproofguitarplayer.com. Link is in the description. Now, that was an example of bending a tone and a half from the root note of the scale, but what about applying a tone and a half step bend to another note in the minor pentatonic scale? We've already established that a flat third, a tone and a half, is the distance of 3 frets, and that's the distance you have between the first and second notes in the minor pentatonic scale, those notes being the root and flat third. So let's take a look at the notes of the B minor pentatonic scale laid out on just one string to see if there are any other notes that we could apply a tone and a half bend to. Okay, so we already know that between the root and the flat third is, of course, the distance of a flat third, a tone and a half, but also between the fifth and the flat seventh, we also have the distance of 3 frets, a tone and a half, a flat third. So once again, that's starting from the fifth in the B minor pentatonic scale. So why not try applying tone and a half step bends to the fifth in the minor pentatonic, like so. To help you get started, here is a simple lick for you to try practicing at home that applies a tone and a half step bend to the fifth of B minor pentatonic at fret 11 on the G string. Another type of bend that David Gilmour likes to use in his solos is what I'm going to call the double bend. The start of the solo in Another Brick in the Wall is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. You'll also find many examples of this same bend in the solos to Shine On You Crazy Diamond. The solo in Another Brick in the Wall is in D, and David starts the bend from this note, which is the flat 7th. The first bend goes up to this, and then the second bend goes up to this. The first note that he bends to is a tone above the starting note. It's the root of the scale. The second note that he bends to is the major second of D, or the major ninth, whatever you want to call it. So he starts by bending up to the root note and then bending up to the major second. So as you can see and hear, that second bend is really wide. It's a distance of 2 tones, in fact. So that's 4 semitones, 1 semitone larger than the first type of bend that we looked at. And if you're wondering what string gauge I'm using, usually I have 11 to 48s on my Strat. However, I ran out of 11s, so thankfully I've got 10 to 46 on the Strat, which is still pretty painful for these bends, but it definitely helps. We're going to stick with our Comfortably Numb style backing track, go back to the key of B minor, and I'll show you some licks that you can try playing at home that make use of these double bends, starting with this. In that example, I'm using the flat 3rd of B as my starting note. First bending up a tone to this, and then the second bend goes all the way up to this note. So again, the second bend is really wide, it's the distance of 4 semitones. Now I have a tip for you when you're practicing these double bends, and that is to release the first bend ever so slightly before performing the second bend. So watch my fretting hand now, and you'll see that after I play the first bend, I don't just hold it there before bending up again. I actually release it very slightly, and then I bend all the way up to, well, 4 frets higher. Before I show you the last lick, I want to talk about my tone. Everything you hear in this video is coming from the Archetype Petrucci plugin from Neural DSP. Now this plugin was actually perfect for chasing Pink Floyd style guitar tones. My Gilmour lead preset uses the rhythm amp head, which is one of 4 amps that come with the plugin. That's paired with a cab that has a ribbon mic on one speaker and a dynamic mic on the other. For effects, I'm using the pre-effects chorus and the post-effects reverb, and I'm also using a feature of the plugin that is really unique to this one. It's called the doubler, and when you dial it in, it gives your signal this really nice wide stereo spread, and yeah, it makes it sound like it's double tracked in real time essentially. I also made a preset that was sort of modeled after the Another Brick in the Wall solo tone. That uses the clean amp head, and it sounds like this. And since this plugin has a phaser in the pre-effects, I thought I should create a preset inspired by the iconic opening riff to Shine On You Crazy Diamond. You can easily try these tones out for yourself at home by downloading my presets for free, as well as a free trial of the plugin itself. All of that is linked in the description box. Thanks to Neural for sponsoring today's video, and let's get back to the lesson. How about we look at another double bend lick? This one is going to apply a double bend to the root note of the scale, the note B, but the second bend is only going to be a tone and a half. So it's going to be a semitone smaller than the last bend lick that we looked at. But yeah, up here on the fretboard, it's still quite painful to play, so apologies for that. But here's what it goes like. The starting note is B, which I'm going to play down here, or else I'll run out of frets if I do it an octave higher. So we start on this note. First we bend up to the major second, so up a tone, and the second bend goes up to the flat third. So that's a tone and a half when measured from the root note. You could also try playing that double bend on the B string, like so, or even on the G string. Those of you who are members at my website, bulletproofguitarplayer.com, have instant access to the bonus content for this David Gilmour inspired YouTube video. And that includes 2 bonus lick lessons, the first of which looks at 2 licks that make use of the tone and a half step bend, and the other one looks at 2 licks that make use of double bends. All of that comes with downloadable tab files and a downloadable backing track to practice to as well. If this is your first time watching me on YouTube, thank you for watching. Please subscribe for more, and I will see you in the next one.